Okay, I'm connected.
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah, you can hear me, can't you?
Yeah.
So how are things?
Good. A little bit slow right now just because of Corona, I think.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm working on
yeah.
like probably 8 projects that are all good, paintings and things like that.
Good, good.
I met a guy who I've known for the last 5 years since Barcelona,
Yeah,
and he's a rapper from New York,
okay.
but he got clean and sober at 17,
Wow,
and he's 40 now.
wow.
So we've connected, like this is our third time connecting over the last 5 years. Like he comes out here sometimes, or he has come out.
That's that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm I, I kind and even talking to him, my perspective's is not my perspective's a little different, and he was able to kind of point that out.
How do you mean?
Well, that I'm going to be curt or crass
Okay.
or not candid but crass because I just feel like it kind of hits home.
Yeah,
If you're sucking cocks underneath a bridge for
yeah.
20 years
Mhm.
for your addiction
Yeah,
and you break that and you come
yeah.
to and you put a decade under your belt,
Right.
that's still kind of your high, like it's still like your, I can see, and I kind of put this together myself after talking to him, but I can see why you would stand up at the front of the podium and that being your, like your whole, everything would revolve around that.
Yeah.
So I don't relate to that. I don't have that experience. I don't have that like I've done things that I didn't want to do, but I wasn't in a position where I had to perform sexual acts in order to attain drugs to feed my addiction.
Mhm.
So, like, I'm just giving you the worst case scenario, well, one of them, right? And I guess if you break free from that, that's pretty remarkable. And I think that's like on the lines of, yeah, that's worth talking about at the front of the room. Just still have like a bit of like a hang up with like, okay, great, you got clean. Now what have you been doing? Like, and for you to fall back after like 2 decades have passed to like what it was once like is like I just I can't relate. And but
Uh,
again, if it was like if you're you've stabbed 3 people in the neck to rob them, well then okay, I guess so. Like I guess that is your story. That is your everything. That is like the miracle that happened to you is being released from like 40 years of being a fucking gangster. Well, okay, I guess. Like I I'm just trying to open my mind a little bit to like that being your story and not having another story or another 100 stories of like um of amazing things you've done with your life in sobriety. And
yeah,
because
yeah. I think though. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just
Yeah.
trying to hammer home like I was my this all kind of came from like I think that people go out between 2 and 5 years because they're left to they're left there's no more like the honeymoon period's over. You're left with yourself in a lot of different facets, and I think that you come to terms with that you're not that great, or you feel like low self worth, low self esteem, and you're not like the newness is over, and you're not taking on new challenges and a new direction with your life. You're still stuck either in the past or um, your self-worth determines that it's not worth it, or you're bored, or you're done doing the charade of just going to meetings and really maybe not diving in, like you're just done with it. And like those numbers are based on my own experience, like would would just I believe that that's because there's no meaning to your life, and if there is, then you're good. But if there's not, well, then you're just not. You're going to tap out, and you're going to go in a different direction. And I think that what he was saying is just that a lot of people can hang on to the fact that if you were a prostitute shoving needles in your arms and you break through from that, that can carry you for decades because it's such a miraculous turnaround. And I'm thinking, well, I guess maybe that's why I'm grateful for talking to him is because like I don't have that same, it's not the same story at all. And so I need something else to fill that void versus attaching to like, I was a junkie who cut throats and I did A, B, and C. And so like, if I don't have that story, what do I got to attach myself to? Well, what am I doing with my sobriety is what I attach myself to. Because if I just attach to like the 180 I performed and how God saved me and how AA saved me, that's not enough. It's just not enough at all. So that's where I'm different.
Right. Yeah. So, there's lots in there what you said. So the one thing that came to mind is that if I'm just sober on yesterday's sobriety, like if I try to just get by because okay, I was in a really like I reached the absolute zenith of pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. So I'm in the depths of hell, right? And I come into recovery, and I get to a place where, holy shit, my life has changed completely. I'm the 180. I've gone back to school. Like all kinds of crazy things have happened to me. I've got a good job, and I've got a family, and everything else. And when I tell my story, and I tell people where I was and where I am, it's remarkable, and it's very inspiring, and it's a beautiful thing. But I can't stay sober on that, I don't believe, and that's why it's so important to carry the message to other people. Like in on page 24 of the big book, it says that the fact that most alcoholics, for reasons yet obscure, have lost the power of choice in drink. Our so-called willpower becomes practically non-existent. We are unable at certain times to bring into our consciousness with sufficient force the memory of the suffering and humiliation of even a week or a month ago. We are without defense against the first drink. So what that means to me is like I can't expect to stay sober forever if I'm not doing anything today. And like you talk about getting on with your life. Yes, that's important because then you're constantly getting inspired within your own life. But if you try to stay stagnant, like I believe that helping others is always a way for me. It's like helping others really gets me out of myself. It keeps me inspired, and it keeps me fresh. And it's almost like when I'm working with a new guy, it's almost like working with myself all over again. I feel that inspiration that I felt early in my sobriety, and the experiential experience that I had when I was younger in sobriety. I feel like that is rejuvenated when I'm working with others. To me, it's like it's a way to get through anything. Like what losing my son was very difficult, but I had a choice to either fade away or try to immerse myself in recovery even more than I had before, and I chose the latter. And I chose to start taking people through the book page by page, line by line, word by word, and taking them through the book, and what's happened to me is I feel good. Like I'm happy today. I'm in a really good place. And so, why, to me, it's like, it is a no-brainer. It's like, this is the answer. I work on my recovery. I carry the message. And then by carrying the message, I continue to work on my recovery, and then I also continue to work on myself. And if there's real character defects I need to work on, I work on that. If there's things I need to do, I do that, So that's the way I look at it. And I think I agree with you in a lot of ways. We can't rest on our laurels, that's for sure. And so what do I have to do to keep it real, to keep it fresh, to not get stale, to not get bored? Look, working with other alcoholics, I'm not going to get bored. I know that, and whether they stay sober or not, some of them don't. It's really doesn't matter, because I continue to do it, and I continue to work at it. And then, there are guys who are staying sober, and that they're carrying the message, and that's very, very exciting. And it's fun. It's really fun to be part of that.
Are you there?
Yep. Yep.
I have a follow-up question, but I'm debating whether to ask it just because of the direction of the conversation, or where do we want to take it before I ask it?
Who knows, right?
So do you want to? I'll leave all this in, but do you want to maybe, do you want to?
Yeah, let's open with a moment of silence. Sure.
Yeah.
Serenity, we pray. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and wisdom to know the difference. Yes, this is Real Raw Recovery. I'm Joe Tilley in Newcastle, Ontario, Canada.
I'm Tyler Tilley in Bangkok. Hurry up. Hurry up.
Bangkok. Is it hot today?
It's really hot again.
Yeah.
But I think that plays a rather beneficial role with the global virus that is attacking everyone.
Oh, good.
I really do. I know that's a bit of Trump logic, but I think like a month ago, it was kind of where you got like kind of the pandemonium of where you guys are now. But
yeah,
our tolls, or the death toll or the infection toll, has just plateaued.
Okay.
So like,
okay.
It's not like, and I really think like when it's 38 degrees or whatever it was today, I don't think it's harder to contract it, or maybe it doesn't live as long. I don't know, but it just seems to be because we have a lot of there's a lot of Chinese in Thailand, so, and there's a lot of visitors, and there's a lot of unhygienic situations. So it would be, I would have thought it would have been, not the best place to be in a sense, but I think the weather has really had a good effect, because I don't know if it's the way they're covering the news, or if it's just literally it's too hot for it to really transmit easily.
You know what? It may be that way. Maybe
because they also
used
to say that about the plague and stuff. Like when it would get hot, it kind of goes away for the summer, and then it comes back perhaps in the winter.
Right.
But here it's just always hot.
Right. And the
So,
thing is too is the plague was a different cat. Yeah, then there was this kind of virus wasn't what the plague was all about. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Anyway, so what was the question you're going to ask? Because I think that's maybe the way to go.
well, it's nothing that we're not familiar with. It does. I think we do disagree a little bit, and then sometimes it can just be semantics. But I do think my question is, I want to give. It's not a hypothetical because I don't think it's too far from the truth, but I'm going to build a scenario and tell me what you think. Especially with like,
Okay.
so like if you have somebody in their first 2 years that is just doing really well in life, and they make a really huge rebound and a huge transition, and are following the program and making
Headway.
big gains, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of headway, and helping others, and really kind of working on themselves and working through the steps and sharing the message.
Mm-hmm.
And then I really believe that like kind of life kicks in, because maybe they choose a couple directions for their either they remain on the same career that they're in, or they change it up. But then like after, I really believe there's this kind of no man's, or I don't know how to describe it. There's this weird gap between 2 and 5 years in my experience. And I believe the stats would kind of coincide with that, is that the amount of people that make it to 2 to 5 years is drops off dramatically. And that's what I was saying,
Mm-hmm.
saying to my buddy Kyle, like, so I'm just trying to pinpoint why I think that is. Why I think, because you also have people that just get a year together, and they were so desperate, but they didn't really do the work, but they did get they got some time together, and then they fall off the grid too.
Mm-hmm.
But I am saying there are people that are really gung ho in the first couple of years that don't make it to 5. And
Mm-hmm.
um, and this is kind of where we disagree, is where I don't think that's just, I would not just go, oh, that's just the disease why they went out. Oh, they went out because of the disease. No, they've literally put together 24 months or longer. And so they're, and if they know that, like, there's a couple things to look at. Maybe they don't know. Maybe they think it's going to be okay this time. Maybe they convince themselves. But if they've had kind of a spiritual awakening, or have had some really good experiences in the program and are living a different life, why would you go back? And my immediate answer is no. It's not just, oh, the disease made them go. No. I think it's self-worth. Because if you just kind of get to that plateau stage where you're like, okay, I really dove in, and then now you're kind of left to your own devices, your own mental state, and the life that you're starting to create for yourself, sober and raw and no crutches really, or you've made some dramatic change. Maybe you over-exercise or overeat. Like maybe there's some other things where addiction does play a part, where you just are substituting, like your energy goes into something else where you obsess over and compulse over. But I really believe that there's, for you to go, yeah, I'm gonna fade away. I'm gonna stop going to as many meetings. I'm gonna stop reaching out as much. I'm gonna stop, even if it's unconscious. But you're like, you're changing your routine that you've had for the last 24 or 36 months, 12 months even, and now you're going to start changing your patterns again. And I'm going to skip the meeting tonight. There's got to be a correlation for that, where you stop wanting to do the work, or you want to stop doing what's working. There's something in that, and that's all like. That's my question. Like, what is that? What? I don't think you just, oh, well, that's just your brain. Like, that's the disease. No, well, no, it's not. You might.
Well, what is it then? What is it? Like, why would you have the lack of self-respect or whatever it is, the reason for it? Why would you have that? Like, why would you suddenly go, oh, I don't love myself anymore? Why would that happen to you?
I think it's a realization that you're shit and you're not you are not everything you're cracked up to be. I think you come to a bit of an epiphany that you are shit. And I think that's what,
Really?
yes, I think it's self-worth. I think there's,
So, so why is a person? Why would I think I'm great one day? I'm one of God's kids and everything's good and I'm quite happy with who I am one day, and then feeling like I'm a piece of shit the next. Why is that happening?
because you're not, and that's my key point, it's because you're not doing anything. You're just stagnating and you're,
But
you're
doing what? Not doing anything. What do you mean? What's anything?
providing meaning for your life.
Okay. So what brings meaning to your life? What brings meaning to your life?
That's the question, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm happy now I'm happy we're doing this because it's, I think I stand behind this like 65%. I'm not trying to like drill home a point. I just think that there's something that kind of goes on, maybe isn't on the tip of everyone's tongue. I just feel like I can, based on my own experience and then looking at other people's lives that I've kind of grown up in recovery, if you all of a sudden fall into this monotonous kind of pit where you don't feel like you're really adding, like you're chasing, you're tapping into like your purpose or meaning. And if you're not going to like attempt to do that, or or you kind of come to terms with like, wow, man, like, yeah, I go to a lot of meetings and a lot of people like me and I had a really good couple, like, but I really think that's when it starts to go like, yeah, but like, what am I doing? I work at so-and-so and I just feel like there's another side of the coin and that takes over. And that's where it's like, yeah, but like, I don't really just want to live as like doing this and doing that. Like it just doesn't cut it. And I really think that if you don't try to become who you are meant to be, or all those cliche kind of slogans, I don't think that you can make it on just sobriety alone.
Okay, so if I'm average Joe here, glass Joe, and I'm going along in my sobriety, and I've got 2 years, and I come to that point where I'm kind of bored with this sobriety business, and I'm not really feeling good about myself. So how would I get to that place where I find my true meaning? What is going to lead me in that direction that I would need to find my true meaning? What steps do I need to take to find my true meaning?
Well, let's look at the people that do make it. So a lot of people that do end up making it start going back to school. They change jobs, they change wives, they change everything. Like they start to realize that who I was in the past and married to this lunatic isn't working anymore and it's not worth it. So we need to adjust that. Now I work in a dead end job that treats me like shit and I feel like shit. So we got to throw that up in the air. Then you got to look at like, okay, so my brain isn't up to caliber. Maybe I need to refresh things. So you kind of go through that phase. That's kind of the gap between the 2 to 5 year mark. And then by going through those motions of like making the major a life adjustments that need to be made in that first term, then you can start really building on a solid foundation versus a wishy-washy kind of like former existence, like from your past life that you're trying to carry through to your new one. And that's just not going to cut it. So then you got to, and then by trying different things, maybe by going back to school, adjusting, finding a new career path, or chasing night classes, you'll start to learn about what you do like, but also just as important, what you don't like. So you can start to learn about who you are, where you want to take this, where you want to take the person that you built. Like you've created this new life and this new person. Now, what are you going to do with that? What are you going to do with like these major shifts? Like you had an identity before, and yes, it took you down in most cases, like this pit of despair, as you mentioned. But now when you get out of that and you've had like this new, basically like not only new perspective, but new like everything, like your chances are you have a new group of friends, you have a new set of like routines, you have I mentioned already, but perspective. And so it's like, okay, so, and that will carry you for a while because it's really powerful. But then it's like, what are you going to do with your new life? Because if you're just going to kind of hang on to what you did in the first 2 years, and that's kind of what I bring it all the way back to what I opened with, is what I was talking with Kyle. I guess you can hang on to what you did in the first 2 years, because if you had this paramount shift where you were like a violent prostitute, well then yes, I get it. I get like why that would carry you till you die, because you've already like been like, your story can carry you. You can always go back to like, I don't want to go back there. I will keep doing what I'm doing now because I don't want to go back there.
Yeah, but you know what? Your story can carry you, but your story might not carry you. And so, but okay, so
no, but what I'm saying is you'll be willing to just go to meetings and help others till you're blue in the face until you die, because you're just willing not to go there. You have enough.
Yeah, but going to meetings and helping others, I mean, going to meetings and helping others can be incredibly self-gratifying, can be incredibly uplifting, can be, you know, like you're like I think it's really hard to be bored when you're working with a new guy. It really is. And I think that what bores people is the thought, as not the action. People get bored by the thought of doing this work, not by the action of doing the work. And I think that's and I think it's like right here. It's a Bill's story. He says, you know, my wife and I abandoned ourselves with enthusiasm to the idea of helping other alcoholics to a solution to their problems. It was fortunate for my old business associates remained skeptical for a year and a half, during which I found little work. I was not too well at the time and was plagued by waves of self-pity and resentment. Okay, so that's normal. People get plagued by waves of self-pity and resentment. This sometimes nearly drove me back to drink, but I soon found that when all other measures failed, work with another alcoholic would save the day. Many times I've gone to my old hospital in despair. When talking to a man there, I would be amazingly lifted up and set on my feet. It is a design for living that works in rough going. So that's really, really, really important. And I mean, and I can attest to that.
Yeah, I know, but that's not the question. Is why you would repel from that.
Why would you repel from that?
Yeah, why wouldn't you do that? If you know, like, if you're armed with the facts.
Because I'm lazy. Because I'm human. I have this disease that lies to me all the time and tells me I don't have it, and I don't care how long I've been sober, it's still gonna lie to me and tell me I don't have it. That's what the disease does. It lies. And so and what the problem is that we listen to the freaking lie. And the little lie things like, oh, this is boring, this recovery is boring, you're missing the old good times with the friends, and just going out with the night. I tell you what, just go out with the guys for the night. And, you know, you don't have to drink it. Just watch, just be with them and hang around. And next thing you know, you're picking up and you go, How the hell that happened? Well, it happened because I got this little voice in my head that lies to me and tells me all kinds of bullshit. And again, like, we can't remember, we can't bring into a memory with sufficient force the despair of a week or a month ago. We just aren't able to do that. That's the nature of the disease. And if we don't do something about the disease, we're going to be affected by the disease. So what do we do about the disease? We follow the steps. We help other people. We stay close to people who are like us, and helping others is like I just read from Bill's story. I mean, that's what saves the day when he feels depressed and not good. He's not in a good place, because we're not always going to be in a good place. But there is a surefire way out of that good place, and you go help somebody else. And so why don't people do that? I don't know. Why don't people do that? Maybe because we're inherently lazy, and it sounds like work. I don't want to sit down.
See, like,
new guy.
you jump to that conclusion. I jump.
I don't know. I'm saying, what if? What is the reason? What is the reason that we don't do that?
Self-worth.
If Tyler, okay, but where does self-worth come from? Helping others does not create some sense of self-worth? Absolutely. Does
Yes.
For me.
Yes.
You can't just make self-worth pop out of thin air. You have to take steps. It's like you can't be grateful, because grateful is an action. I'm going to be grateful because I'm helping other people. I'm going to be grateful because I'm doing something for somebody. I'm doing this. That's what makes me grateful. I can't just say, okay, Joe, feel grateful now. Okay. Oh yeah, good. Yeah, I'm good now. I feel grateful. Yeah, good. All right. So I have to do it. I got to take the rest of the day off because I feel grateful right now. That's not how it works. Not for me.
Okay, so I'm gonna go just kind of like, because I'm just thinking, and I would like to get what am I trying to say? Because and what I'm trying to say again is that I think, so sorry if I sound like I'm repeating myself, but I just trying to clarify really what is the point that I'm trying to get across? The point that I'm trying to get across is that I do believe you'll get to a point where it's almost like a fork in the road. And I think that for me, I needed to add another layer and I needed to add more to my story for me to appreciate my sobriety. So it's I'm not trying to, they go hand in hand. I'm not saying all of a sudden, like, we know a lot of people that completely change everything. Like they find a new passion and they let sobriety go, or sorry, they let like the program kind of fall by the wayside, and that doesn't really work out. So I'm not suggesting that you need something that takes over everything, but what I am saying, and I think what I am imagining why one might not make it from 2 to 5 years is not just solely helping somebody else. I believe it's the fact that they're not going to build on this new life and add layers to it and add dynamic and some dimension and some personal meaning. And I think sometimes, yeah, even like let's say you go out, you know what, I really wanted to try writing. I would love to write a book. It doesn't mean that you don't stay after the meeting and help another guy. But now you have like, oh, what are you working? Like, what are you doing? It's just like anything. Like, if you stick around till after the meeting, they're not taught. Like, maybe you are because you're a bit of a different breed. But most people want to know what the hell's going on in my life. And it's funny, I don't go, well, actually, I'm going to go talk to this guy about the big book. And then after that, I'm going to meet the next guy, talk to him about the big book. And then after that, I'm going to meet that guy before the meeting and talk to him about the big book. And then at the meeting, I'll talk about the big book. And then when I go home, I'll like, I don't, that's just not how I operate. And that's not most people that I talk about after the meeting. I go, so what's the fuck going on? What's really going on? Oh, well, I'm trying to write this book. It's giving me a headache. I got, like there's a lot, like it's kind of like if you don't have those levels or those, if you don't have something that you're going after that creates meaning for you, I really think that's the gap. That's the gap. And I believe that what happens is if you hit that fork in the road after 2-3 years or 12 months, you go, what am I really trying to do with this? Where am I gonna go with this? What, like, that's, for me, that sounds exciting. And you're like, well, I'd really like to try this. Like I've always like, and me, like, I just feel like
Yeah.
that has to be
Okay.
just as important as anything else. But I'm not saying it
I
outweighs
yeah.
everything else.
Right. Okay. So I agree with you. Okay. So that just so you know that I absolutely agree with you. It's change. It's all about change. This recovery is all about change. Growth in recovery is all about change. If there's something I'm not doing, to better myself, whatever that looks like, like there's a pamphlet that Dr. Bob always referred to when he was working with new people and talking. It was a pamphlet was written by a friend of his. It was called How to Listen to God, and in that pamphlet, it talks about blocks. And blocks are what things that keep me from the sunlight of the spirit. It keeps me from connecting with my power. And things that are blocks are, uh, an amends I should make that I haven't, um, something I need to do that I'm not doing, a bad behavior that I'm not giving up that I should. Like there's a list of about 6 or 7 things that are blocking us off from the sunlight of the spirit. If there are things that I'm not doing in my life that are, and by just not taking those steps, to fear, whatever it is that's keeping me from doing that, if I'm not walking through that fear, then I'm hurting myself. And I think that's stagnating my growth, and it's stagnating that change that we need to have. And that's what keeps us blocked off from the sunlight of the spirit. And so I absolutely agree with you. There's if there's steps I take that I need to take to better my life, and I know I can do it, and I'm not doing it because of fear, then I'm just hurting myself, and eventually I'm gonna go back to that belief that I'm not worth anything, and so the chances of me slipping are really great. And in addition to that, if I'm also helping other people, like, I mean, there's lots of ways to be helpful in recovery. But if I'm not doing something to help other people, and I'm just trying to take care of myself, then you know I'm gonna get stagnant. I'm gonna get to that place where I've got these blocks, and I'm not doing what I should be doing, and I'm not helping others, and I'm not taking care of myself, and then I don't feel like I have any value, and then the chances of me slipping are greater. So I see. So I agree with you, and I think that what you're saying is right, spot on. And I just think that there's that it comes down to when the shit hits the fan, what can I do today, right here, right now, to get out of this funk? And the answer is get out and help somebody, because that's going to carry the day. And then once you carry the day and get through the day, then who knows what tomorrow brings. Tomorrow you might be in a completely different place, a much better place. The fear might be gone. You're able to follow your dreams. You're able to do what you need to do. So anyway. All right.
Yeah.
You ready to wrap? You ready to wrap it?
Yeah.
Okay. God,
God.
grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and wisdom to know the difference. All right.
I got a final thought. I won't drag it out.
Okay.
Let's reverse it. Let's say you always wanted to be an actor, right?
Yeah.
And things are not just working out. And you start to get depressed. And so I feel, hear me out. You want to always be an actor, but now you're in your mid to late 20s and you start getting depressed and your alcoholism is reaching new lows and you are finding yourself scattered and the opportunities seem to be really thinning out and your life's falling apart, and you go to a therapist and you say, like, I really want to be an actor and I don't know why it's not working out, and the therapist determines, like, oh, you use a lot of like cocaine and you drink a lot. Do you think that's playing a factor in your achieving your destiny or your dreams? And initially, like, oh, absolutely not. And then you might come to terms with, like, yeah, maybe it is. And let's say you go, yeah, you know, it'd be great is if I gave up drinking and drugs in order to achieve my dream. But you can't. You're under the grips, so much so that you might even have a problem. Even you might be classified of having a disease because you can't let it go. So you go get help for that. And you end up finding yourself at AA meetings or meetings in general. And you start to be able to free yourself from that pitfall and that demise. Right? And you start helping people because it keeps you sober. And it makes you feel better about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, and then at some point you can even pursue your dream to be an actor, because you're clean and sober, and your chances are you'll be able to be a better actor, right? And in today's world, being an actor can be many things, right?
I know, but I just try to position it a little differently, like.
Yeah.
Like before you, I guess my point is, and this is what I want to say to well. Sorry, now I guess I lied. I'm dragging this out a little bit. Is before your story of just being a recovered alcoholic and helping other people, like you had these aspirations and these visions. Maybe not everyone. I'm not saying everyone wanted to be an actor. I'm just trying to give a scenario where it kind of falls in line with what I'm trying to say. Like your story is like, yes, like the number one priority or first things first is not picking up and following the program, and that's great. But like that's one label, and that's great, and I believe in it to this day after 2 decades. I believe in it. I believe that label is valuable and it carries weight, and it when all else fails, it's saved me for 2 decades. But I just feel that there's other titles that you're going to want to latch onto because that's what life's about. And I think like your story, building your story and adding meaning to your life in multiple different dimensions and is what then can carry the sobriety as well. Like it goes hand in hand.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. I agree. Hmm.
All right.
Because who are we without dreams and aspirations, right? We're good.
Yeah, that's I think
Okay.
what makes us human.
Yeah. Yeah.